Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Robert Phoenix, broadcasting to you live from the Hill Country with my backup glasses on. I've got the '70s goggles since I can't find my funky designer pair, but that's okay. It allows me to see. Although I look like fucking Mr. Magoo here with these giant glasses. Anyway, how is everyone today? We are almost out of Aries season, and we are rapidly approaching Taurus Town. We're coming to Cowtown. Next stop, Abilene. One of our beloved Chatarians, Liddy Lou, is actually involved in a fundraiser for some of the ranchers who were devastated by the fire. And we're going to get behind that a little bit and maybe talk more about it on Friday or something like that. Maybe we'll have her on the show. She can talk about what's going on and what happened, and how we may be able to help some of our ranch people who we desperately need, because it just feels like we're under this constant assault, whether it's our land or our manufacturing or our supply chain or even just our senses. So yeah, I think we'll have her on, and she'll talk about what they're doing, and maybe we can pitch in and help these guys out a little bit. All right, we got a pretty good room here. 90 cheery souls. Oh, there she is, right there, Liddy Lou. She's in the house. Melissa Stanton. Melissa, I got to check my email. I'll get back to you today. You ever have one of those days that's busy, not busy? That's what it was like yesterday. It was a busy, not busy day. Let's see. Hey, Matt Burns is here. Scuba Cal. Claire checking in. Laura Elliott. Oh, is it a Mary Lee birthday today? Oh, man, let's tee up a birthday song for Mary Lee. Let's go birthday song for Mary Lee. As you know, my birthday choices are slightly limited because of the copyrights. Well, it's not really. It depends. The happy birthday song itself is not copyrighted. It's in public domain. But songs like the Beatles, "You Say It's Your Birthday," all that stuff. Those are, or let's see, what do we have here? What's gonna suit Mary Lee? We've done that one. We've done that one. We've done that one. We've done that one. We never like to really repeat ourselves here. Let's see. Oh, look at this. This one is personal for April 18th, although it's so cheesy. Oh, we did the guy in the. I like that guy with the hang drum in the water. I have no idea how this sounds, but I think this is going to be appropriate for Mary Lee. I've never heard it. It could be completely and utterly awful. But this is the risk you take when you do live streams. You're living on the edge here, literally. All right. So apparently, Guns N' Roses has a happy birthday song, and you're hearing it for the first time, just like me. So, Mary Lee, happy Guns N' Roses birthday.
just have to do this. This is our new manager, and this is our first show, and we thought we'd never make it. This is his birthday, and this is real fucking embarrassing for him. Happy birthday, Ducky! We love you. What's a duck game? I've never played that shit before, so I'm gonna have to play it. This is something called Dead Horse.
Well, that was a little anticlimactic. It would have been fine if Axel had just kept his mouth shut and just allowed Slash to keep playing the guitar. I almost feel like I've cheated you, Mary Lee, on your birthday song. We might have to do another one. All right, I dig this guy. He's fucking cool. We've done him before, but this guy's classic right here. All right, we're following up the lame Guns N' Roses happy birthday with our friend Ethereal NE.
Birthday, your birthday, happy birthday. It is your birthday, it is your birthday, it is your birthday, happy birthday. Your birthday, your birthday, your birthday, happy birthday. It is your birthday, it is your birthday, it is your birthday, happy birthday.
There we go. There we go. I don't get tired of that. I like that. That's a happy birthday song. So there you go. Mary Lee, you got a twofer. You got a twofer. I know, isn't he great? Totally great. I had to wash Axl Rose out of our mouths. Slash on guitar would have been fine, but here we go. I should just play that for everybody. Make it the standard birthday song. Okay, let's get into the weather. The weather. Before we do, you know what to do. Hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't. And hit the bell to be notified for future shows. There you go. All right. There's the weather right there. So we're moving into a Virgo moon tomorrow, actually later today. And so Friday, we're in a Virgo moon zone. And over the weekend, we're going to have that moon, Saturn, Mars, Neptune opposition. Interesting. Watch out for the critical energy this weekend. You know, not everybody's perfect. Not everybody's perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Our families aren't perfect. And that very taut opposition between the moon and Virgo and those Pisces planets, the contrast is stark and dramatic. But what's really weird though is that if you just don't go into critical mode or don't go into, I think the Virgo moon can be very good at boundaries, even though it's a mutable moon. It's good at boundaries. It's almost too good at boundaries in some ways. And if you just hunker down in the sort of critical nature of the Virgo moon, you're going to miss some of this really interesting Piscean energy. And as Mars gets closer to Neptune, there's more blurring. There's less boundary. There's less definable edges. So by the time we roll around to Sunday, It'll probably be right in that Moon Neptune opposition. Mars will be within another 2 degrees of Neptune. So I think Sunday is kind of a critical day in a lot of ways. And it feels like, we all talk about things like surrender and letting go. And none of that is ever really an easy process. I mean, it all depends. Like if you have some kind of disappointment that is, let's call it a minor disappointment, you can let it go. You can let it go. So, oh, that's not that big of a deal. Like if you go to a barbecue place and you really want ribs and they're out of ribs, but they still have brisket, it's like you can let that go. It's easy. It may take you a couple of seconds to get that kind of rib taste out of your mouth, the one that you're really looking for. But once you do, you go, yeah, I really like brisket. I'll take the brisket. Um, but there are other things that you have to let go of that are much more difficult. And that's when the stakes for surrender are quite high. And it's a very interesting dynamic because the other side of it, here's the other side of it. The other side of it is that, well, we're taught to just let go, right? We're taught to just surrender and let it go. And I think that, ultimately, at the end of the day, when you are sitting next to somebody on their deathbed, that's really ultimately what it comes down to is just surrendering and letting go. That is really the final act, and it is it's a marker for a lot of our living is to surrender and let go. But there are times when surrendering and letting go is giving up, and there's a big difference. It's a big difference. So there's a lot of dynamic tension this weekend when it comes to this whole idea of boundaries, surrender, letting go. I think there's also some power plays in the mix this weekend. I would I would avoid being too critical over the weekend. Uh, that again, it doesn't mean that you can't have boundaries, you can't have discernment. I would use criticism as kind of a last resort. That's what I would do. Because it also feels like some people won't understand it and there could be a lot of hurt feelings. And sometimes that's how it goes. Now, fortunately, the moon is moving into a trine with Jupiter and Uranus, which is good news. So that critical Virgo energy can go somewhere. I don't know what the Farmer's Almanac says, but I think it's a good weekend to plant with the moon in Virgo. Because look, what we have here, we've got Juno, which is all about fertility and newness. So by the time the moon swings around and we get into later today and tomorrow, it's a good time. It's a good time to plant, a good time to do projects around the house, fix things, repair things, make that Virgo moon have some usefulness. And then with the trine with Jupiter and Uranus, it's kind of like, put in a good hard day's work, like around your homestead or your house or whatever, fix, repair, plant, and then fire up the grill and, throw some, throw some meat on there or some veggies or whatever you like, right? Because there is a bit of a celebratory element here. Not today, not right now, because the moon is in a kind of a tight square with Jupiter Uranus. But we're talking on Saturday, right? Saturday night, after you get all your work done, treat yourself. Maybe even invite some people over, break bread. That's one of the ways that we can get out of this kind of really hard dialectic between Pisces and Virgo. There's another out here, and the out is Let's break bread and let's make merry. And of course, there's always going to be some level of restraint with the Virgo moon, so you're not going to overeat or anything. Well, maybe a little bit when Jupiter's involved. And there's also some interesting things that could come out of it. Some interesting connections, and Uranus brings novelty, right? It brings novelty. So speaking of Uranus and Jupiter, there they are. This is the big conjunction that everybody's been looking at. Keep your eye on gold today. I think we're going to have some if you're a gold bug, you're going to like what happens today. Hard assets. I think hard assets are gonna move today, even with the square. I think they're gonna move. What is the Sabian symbol for? Let's go with 22. I've been wanting to do this. 22 Taurus. What is the Sabian symbol for 22 Taurus? Let's see. What do we have here? Oh, this is a lovely symbol. This is a lovely symbol for our times. Let me see if I can get out of this. Let's do this. Okay, so I've got to do. I have to tee it up on Chrome. I should have just used the. Okay, hold on. Let me just do this. Hang in there. We're going to make it. Here we go. Easy breezy. Easy breezy. All right, so here's the Sabian symbol for 22 Taurus. White dove flying over troubled waters. The spiritual inspiration that comes to the individual in the overcoming of crisis. Here also we are confronted with a symbol of guidance, and the dove flying over troubled waters reminds one of the story of Noah and the ark. Noah met his and mankind's crisis courageously and in complete obedience to God's promptings. The test completed, he received the dove's message. It is a message from the Holy Spirit announcing a new dispensation. This symbolic scene can be applied to personal crises resulting from emotional upheavals or from the eruption of unconscious forces and impulses into the consciousness, if the crisis has been faced in the right spirit. The second stage symbol is in contrast to the preceding one, because here it is not the product of a culture, a book, but instead the rhythm of cosmic God-ordained cycles that reveals its conclusive beat through a living and concretely significant sign, a reward to the faithful. So that's a really interesting symbol. And, if we look at it through the lens of Uranus and Jupiter, which a lot of people have had a lot of trepidation with, which I really don't. But if you look at it through that lens, right, there is a I hate to use the word reward, but there is the benefit. We'll use the word benefit. There is the benefit of operating from a place of being authentic and living through right livelihood. That's kind of that's kind of the phrase or the mindset that I'm looking for, right? It is the reward of living through right livelihood. And what does that mean? Well, it means that as a person, you are exercising conscious awareness of who you are in any given situation. And as doing so, you are a representative of the divine. You are a representative of the cosmic intelligence that flows through all of us. That is living through right livelihood in the right mindset. And everybody might have their own iteration and version of that because we're all different. We all grew up under different circumstances. We have different charts, right? But at the end of the day, the idea that you would live your life in accordance with a spirit that is going to be generous, expansive, truthful, sovereign, accountable. Like that's where I'm coming from. That's where I'm coming from. And so when we have this Jupiter Uranus conjunction, to me, it's the reward for approaching your life with a sense of right livelihood. And when we get into the weekend, when that moon in Virgo begins to trine Uranus and trine Jupiter, my question would be, how much are you willing to accept? Some people are willing to accept a lot. You ever meet somebody like that? Like, oh, gee, thank you. They have no problem, accepting whatever comes their way, especially if it's like abundant or has some kind of material or emotional value attached to it. They're very good at it, and I admire those people, right? But a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people are, oh, well, gee, I really don't deserve this, or this is one of those weekends where that spirit of accepting and being able to receive a reward is really important. It's really important. And the Virgo moon, it always wants to play down this idea that the material world means something that matters outside of the realm of service and work. So I would say that this is a really good time to, as we go into this weekend, and we have this conjunction for the next couple of days, to really practice with conscious awareness this idea of right livelihood, and just affirm and decree that who you are, the path you're on, the path you've taken, the choices and decisions that got you here, right? They're all perfect. They're all perfect. And you may not be perfect. You may have some flaws. They may be physical flaws. Not everybody's healthy, right? Or people might have some stuff going on in their body, or you may have some interpersonal flaws. But it's what brought you here. And the Virgo moon takes responsibility, ultimately, maybe sometimes too much responsibility, but it takes responsibility for things. Like, okay, I'll own that. I'll own that. Well, own the fact that wherever you are, whatever brought you here, right? Celebrate that you made it this far, and celebrate the fact that if you look at your life, I guarantee you'll see at least 1, 2, 3, 4, depending on your life. You'll see experiences along the way that will bring joy back to you, right? You will understand that there have been moments in your life that have been really profound and rich. And, with the Mercury retrograde, I think that's part of the process, is to remember that not everything is shitty. Not everything is looking like we're about to go to World War III. And I feel like, people say, well, what can I do? Well, what can I do? What can I do? This is way above my pay grade. Well, what you can do is live with that conscious awareness. And I think the most heroic act, we've talked about this before, the most heroic act is to be able to live from a place of creativity, to be able to live from a place of feeling productive and useful, and that the time that you have here in this realm, no matter what you think it is, whether it's heaven on earth, whether it's a fallen Gnostic world, whether it's a simulation, doesn't really matter. What matters is your relationship to it. And the grounded energy of this weekend pays off. And you could vacillate, right? You could go into that opposition. And here's what happens with some people as well. A lot of people will look at their situation, which may not be perfect or ideal, but it's much better than in other places of the world. And they may have other people in their life that may not be as fortunate as they are. They could be family members, they could be friends, they could be ex-friends. And so what happens then is that people begin to hold themselves back. Well, this person doesn't have this, so I should really feel happy about what I have, right? Or this person had this in their life, but they lost their husband, and I have a relationship, and it's beautiful and it's loving. And so in a lot of ways, when that happens, we tend to not fully own or claim the blessings and the gifts in our lives, right? And it's out of really, in some ways, empathy, compassion, and deference towards others. I get it. This is one of those weekends where that energy could also kick in, and you may miss it. You may miss the opportunity for what you do have, because that Virgo moon, always wants to turn it into something useful, or wants to turn it into something, I don't know, Spartan, right? But the energy this weekend is fairly celebratory. But and I don't want to sound Calvinistic here, but the celebratory nature of it will be much better if you put in a good day's work on Saturday. Just trust me on this. Just trust me on this. And you get it done, and Saturday night is going to be an absolutely fine time. And celebrate, being here, right? And it gets back to the symbol of Taurus 22, the white dove flying over troubled waters. It represents a type of arrival, and I think that that's a radical departure. We're all sitting around on pins and needles, just waiting for the next fucking bomb to drop, right? Okay, well, what's happening in Israel? What's happening in Iran? Okay, when are the newly minted citizens going to explode in New York City? Right, we're all kind of waiting for these crises to occur. And I'm going to throw out a bit of a different mindset. It's so funny because I'm going to be talking about the days of Molech over on 15 Minutes of Flame, which in some ways is a bit of a contrast. But the only reason we talk about this stuff in a lot of ways is to look at it and dispel it, right? We look at it, we talk about it, we take a pen and we prick it and we deflate it. So this symbol is a stark contrast to our supposedly current day condition. The white dove flying over troubled waters, a reward to the faithful. Live your life as if these distractions, these machinations, and these, in many ways, very dangerous maneuvers that are being played out through the social engineering context. Try it for a weekend. Try it for a weekend like you don't have a care in the world, that none of that matters. For 48 hours, you have the ability to live your life as if it's blessed. And see where it takes you for 48 hours. And it feels like if more of us live from that perspective, things might change, and they may change rather rapidly. Let's get back to the weather here. Somebody just texted me. Okay, so we got into the moon, and today we've got the square. You know, that 29th degree of Leo. It's very egoic. It's very, very egoic. It's like, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. People don't love me. People don't recognize me. I don't get enough credit. And it's squaring up against Jupiter and Uranus, and it makes everything bigger. But the good news is again, this is very temporary. And I really like this Moon Juno conjunction. And it's not just planting in your garden. I mean, use this as a metaphor for planting intentionality in your life. And again, when we deal with Virgo, we deal with health, and I'm really doing my best to stay on my health trip. Although California presented itself with a number of delicious distractions, but now we're back on it with the very sober and how would I describe it? We'll just call it a healthy moon. Okay. I think that's the big news. The big news that you're going to read about from other astrologers, because I know a lot of you follow other people. You're going to read about the markets. You're going to read about crypto. You're going to read about or hear about how Jupiter Uranus will manifest itself in things like taxes, money going to foreign entities, right? All those things, especially early in the day. And all those things are in there. Like they're all in there. But at the end of the day, what instead of looking at it from this mundane perspective, what does it really mean? Based on that Sabian symbol, it means that you're okay. And you're especially okay if you practice right livelihood. Pretty simple. And what if I had told you that the conditions of your life, the material conditions of your life, could change rather dramatically with that kind of mindset, particularly as it's practiced by this Virgo moon? And I'm telling you, coming right in here, conjuncting with Juno, you have the opportunity to plant new seeds, both metaphorically and in actuality. All right, let's get into our True Hemp Science star of the day. Before I go there, of course, if you feel like you'd like to purchase a cup of coffee for me, there's a link in the show notes which allows you to do just that. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be talking more about what's going on in the world over on 15 Minutes. There's also a link in the show notes as well. So today's True Hemp Science star of the day, let me bring up my banner here, is brought to you by, of course, True Hemp Science. And True Hemp Science is the only sponsor of the show besides me, myself, Robert Phoenix, and robertphoenix.com, where you can sign up for astrological consultations. So the deal with True Hemp Science is that if you spend $100 or more, you will just type in 15MINS, and you will get a free goodie bag with your order with all kinds of interesting little things. A little potpourri of CBD. $150 more gets free shipping. There's always a 30-day money-back guarantee. And you can always reach out to Chris and find out which CBD product is right and good for you. Just go to truehempscience.com. 15MINS. That's your code. Okay, it was slim pickings today, but today's True Hemp Science star of the day is Eli Roth. Eli Roth. And some of you may know who he is. Some of you may not know who he is. But he is kind of, he's kind of one of these guys that made his bread on horror. I think he sold his first script or movie for $2 million, and it was one of those hardcore, grindcore slasher movies. Now, this is from Inglorious Bastards, where he plays the bear, and I don't like that movie. That's Tarantino is really into revenge porn, and so okay, well, let's use a baseball bat to tee off on the head of another human. Okay, I get it. So you can tell that Eli Roth is kind of maniacal. He's got a maniacal twist in his persona. Now, he's got that big hair. He's always got the big hair. So Leo rising, right? And so when I look at his chart, it's like, okay, so where is the horror? So I look at Mercury in the 8th house. Of course, Mercury's all about writing and communication. And the 8th house is the underworld, right? And Aries tends to be violent. Hello. And we have this Mercury-Pluto opposition. He's got Pluto at 29 Virgo in the 2nd house. So, he did pretty well when he sold this script for $1 million. And I feel like when you get into these oppositions, especially because Pluto is the ruler of the 8th house, you have access to those energies. You have access to those elements in ways that other people may not, for better or worse, right? So he's got to do something with his horrific thoughts in some ways. Let's put it that way. He also has his Venus-Mars conjunction, which we've often talked about, and it's almost exact. What's weird, right, is that he's got the like the hatchet, and he's got the baseball bat, but he kind of fucking looks like Sarah Silverman. You know what I mean? He like there's who is a Gemini, by the way. He looked no, she's a Sag. He looks like Sarah Silverman. And you'll get this with Eli Roth. When you see pictures of him, at times he can look like very macho. Like, he works out, boxes and shit. And there are other pictures of him where he looks incredibly feminine. So we get that with the Venus-Mars conjunction, especially in Gemini. I think he's twisted. I think this guy is twisted with this chart. And we have, again, the Venus-Mars conjunction opposing Neptune. Neptune in the 4th house, is growing up in a household that maybe it could be traditionally religious, especially in Sagittarius. But there's also the potential of a household with very little boundaries. And his household is shared also by Scorpio. So his youth is dark in a lot of ways, right? And Neptune is, to some extent, trying to find some redemption or some redeeming factor about the home life. But again, he's a dreamer. He's definitely a dreamer. He wants to come out of that 4th house. He wants to occupy the 10th house. He wants to be a big deal. He wants to be that Saturnian figure where he's an authority. And I don't know if he's an authority or not, but I guess he's done pretty well for himself. But he's kind of twisted, right? Moon in Cancer, 11th house. So there's that sensitivity with the moon. But what's it doing? It's squaring Pluto, squaring Mercury. Like, catch this guy on a bad day. Look out. Look out. The moodiness will erupt. Jupiter in the 4th house, athletics, creativity. It's in Capricorn, so I think he's somebody that knows people. True Node is also right there, bang on in Aquarius. That's interesting. And in the 6th house, so he's got Pluto on his True Node. To me, that would be a transformation of work. And maybe he, stops making movies or converts to Christianity. Who knows? But there's a change in purpose with the Pluto True Node conjunction, and it's a deepening of the purpose as well. It's got a grand cross, so I think there's a lot of dynamic tension in his chart in general. Afflicted relationship with the mother more of a friend than a mother, maybe an unhealthy version of that as well. Uranus moon square, I think he'd be very hard to be in a relationship with, even though he's got a Venus conjunction with Saturn, although it's wide. He would probably wind up with somebody that he would meet through his work, which is, film career, et cetera, yada, yada, yada. But I don't think he'd be easy to be in a relationship with at all. He's got a Sun Jupiter trine, immense confidence in himself. Immense confidence in himself. And what's interesting is that in a lot of ways, he kind of makes people knew that he was a filmmaker and did all this horror shit, right? But it is through Inglourious Bastards that he becomes more of a screen presence. And when you look at the placement of the sun, the 9th house is foreign countries. Now, I don't know where Quentin Tarantino filmed Inglourious Bastards. I don't know if he filmed it in Croatia or who knows, right? But the idea with the 9th house is all about foreign countries. And Aries is war, right? And what is he known for in that movie? It's taking a baseball bat to the head of a German. Hello, Aries, Chiron, right? So this guy's got a bit of a twisted chart. Lots of drama, although he's, I would say, very bright, creative. He's able to articulate things that are quite dark in a lot of ways. I also feel like he has this ability to seduce people with that Mercury sextile to Mars Venus. Like there's a deep kind of psychological understanding of how people work. I think this guy could be completely manipulative. And who knows? Maybe he is. I mean, that's just my astrological take. And not a lot of grounding, Jupiter in Capricorn, right? It's afflicted there. So that's Earth, but it's an overabundance and kind of how would I describe it? Very ambitious. Pluto in Virgo, but it's at the 29th degree. And he's got Taurus on the midheaven. So it doesn't have a lot of Earth in his chart. It's not a real grounded chart. A lot of fire, a lot of air, very combustible. And then when water is involved, right, it becomes more intense. Like this guy, I would say, has a difficult time with his emotions. That moon is all over the place. What's interesting, though, is I think he probably is way more maternal to his friends. Like you would see a strangely sensitive side with his friends. But that in as much as he can be sensitive and care about them, I also think he could turn on them as well. So there you go. There's your True Hemp Science star of the day, Eli Roth. All right. I want to thank everybody for being here. And if you want to join the conversation, keep it going. There is a link at the bottom of the show notes. Takes you right over to 15 Minutes of Flame. And we should have the new website up when Mercury goes direct. Fingers crossed. And so we'll be able to do a lot more things from that point forward. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a blessed day. Robert Phoenix signing off.